Nathan,
Yes?
why are you wearing a helmet?
I'm ready for the gun grabbers, Zach. I'm ready for them to come for me. I'm wearing this in case they try to break down my door and attack me.
Nathan,
They won't.
they don't have guns. How are they going to attack you?
I don't know, but maybe they'll have a baseball bat. Maybe there'll be enough of them that I'll run out of bullets in my magazine, and one of them will get close enough to hit me. So that's why I'm wearing this. And you know what? Antifa started the revolution last Saturday. Didn't you hear?
All I heard was them helplessly screaming at the sky.
They did that. They helplessly screamed at the sky. But you know what? They've been talking about starting this revolution for months now. And for the day it gets to Papillion, Nebraska, I'll be ready for them. I'll be holed up in a bunker, clenching my guns with this helmet on. I'll have a stack of MREs in the corner. I'll wait them out, dude. They won't get to me.
This is the Guardians of Liberty podcast.
Roads to Liberty presents the Guardians of Liberty with your hosts, Nathan Parada and Zach Taylor.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Guardians of Liberty podcast. I am your host, Nathan Parada, joined as always with former Nebraska quarterback Zach Taylor. How you doing, Zach?
I hate you so much right now.
Why? I'm just praising your skill as a football player. Why you gotta be so mad at me all the time?
So, I did play college football. I was a 215-pound offensive guard, and I got destroyed.
So you're telling me you're not the Nebraska football quarterback from 2006? That's a shame.
I think he spells his name incorrectly. I think it's like Z-A-C.
Well, however he spells it, we're back. I'm holding the microphone close enough to my mouth for you to hear me this time. We got everything going strong here. We got some topics to talk to you about. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news. We had a little bit of a spat this week, didn't we, Zach? With a page called the Nebraskans Against Gun Violence on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's set the scene here. The massacre in Texas happened on Sunday. It happened sometime in the early afternoon.
Well, it would have been late morning because church, so it would have been like 11.
Yeah, something like that. So as the news is coming in, as we're hearing about this, as it's hitting the airwaves, the Nebraskans Against Gun Violence, not just hours after the incident, decided to post this on their Facebook page, and I quote,
Wait, you're skipping a step.
What am I missing?
So at about 1 o'clock, Senator Ebke, or maybe it was 2, it might have been 2, we shared it on the page. Senator Ebke had a Second Amendment rally that she spoke at on the steps of the Capitol building, and this is what they were responding to. No, go ahead.
It was an event put on by the National Gun Owners Association.
I don't know.
It's one of those national.
It wasn't the NRA, which is important to the discussion.
Yes, it definitely was not the NRA, but the Nebraskans Against Gun Violence posted this at 2:24 p.m. on Sunday, and I quote, "As a gunman mowed down dozens of churchgoers in Texas today, Nebraska State Senator Laura Ebke attended a pro-gun rally at the base of a statue of a president who was shot in the head. Ebke is the new chair of the legislature's Judiciary Committee, which is tasked with deciding whether legislation to dismantle our gun laws and profit the firearm industry will go to a full floor vote. In attendance with Ebke is the lawyer she appointed as legal counsel for the committee, the former lobbyist for the firearm industry in the state of Nebraska."
It was Dick Clark, right?
I'm not entirely sure. They didn't make that clear in their statement.
No, but that's who it was, though, wasn't it? Because like I'm terrible with names, but I've met him like twice before. And
was it Dick? I didn't see who it was.
But
I just
shout out to the powerful Dick Clark for all the great work he's doing. You're doing the Lord's work, sir.
Exactly. So this kind of thing, and this post set off the firestorm, as you can imagine, because
it wasn't that it set off a firestorm, it's that we brought the firestorm.
Yeah, that's essentially what we did. It's just the massacre in Texas had just happened. We're just getting news. The information hasn't really come in yet. We don't know all the details. And immediately gun grabber groups are taking to Facebook, taking to the airwaves, taking to the internet, in an attempt to immediately turn this into a political issue so that they can take advantage of a terrible situation.
Planting that flag on the like that grave ain't even filled in yet, and we're just planting that flag. This is every time. Every time.
The bodies are not even cold yet. They didn't have the respect just to wait until the information is known, and have the respect for the victims to do this. And this isn't something that just happens on the left. I mean, a few weeks back when that terrorist in New York ran over a bunch
it was immediately
of
them darn Muslims.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah.
To be fair, he ended up being a Muslim, but...
Well, it's not just that. It's that Donald Trump immediately after started, making it a political issue.
As though we were going to put a travel ban on Uzbekistan. First off, if you're calling for a travel ban from a country, and I saw this a bunch from people who are Republicans, at least be able to find that country on a map, because I guarantee you most of those people couldn't do it. I can. I know where those are all at. But they don't.
It's not a commonly known country. And I think Ben Shapiro made this point that, with the diversity program that allowed this guy in probably should be scrapped, but not because it'll stop terrorism. That's a stupid reason.
Yeah.
It should be stopped because diversity quotas are dumb.
Don't get me started. I just had to sit. We're going to caveat for a second because I need to complain. Because you were asking me about this on Facebook Messenger today, and I told you I'd explain it to you. So my job, who shall remain nameless, had a Veterans Day celebration today. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go. I don't really get into the resource group and really plug into those kind of things. So it'll be cool to kind of go talk to some other vets. And most of the people there weren't veterans, which is fine. They were there to show support. I'm like, that's really cool. Thanks, guys. So this is like a simulcast event. So the home office that's in another state, they have these speakers. And the first guy tells this really cool story about a World War II gunner, who, his family was honored in a Belgian town, and it's a cool story. And then the rest of the time was them talking about how the bank needs to hire more women and minorities. It's like, I thought there was a veterans, look, I get you're a bank, you're a modern corporation, you're going to talk about diversity a bunch. I've accepted this. You can't just shut up for 2 minutes and let the vets have, their day where it's supposed to be about them. And, I'm not offended because I'm a vet. I just think that's dumb. You literally cannot stop talking about diversity quotas.
Zach, do you really want to get me started on SJW stuff?
God, no, we need to avoid this week. But it's
do you want to make this whole episode about SJW stuff again? Because I will. I will make it all about that again.
Oh, man, it's frustrating. And I'm trying to, it's hard for me to put into words why it's frustrating. I feel like it was false advertising. If I would have known, hey, this is going to be a diversity talk, I'd have been like, okay, I'm just going to stay at my desk and do my job. But I was genuinely excited about hearing some veterans talk about their experiences in the corporate world and seeing if I could parlay that into some success in my own life and, doing some networking with other vets. And it's like, no, we're just here to talk about why there aren't enough X minority group in the bank, and the way they were like harping on is like, we don't have enough Asian Americans, and they're like, we like 18% of the bank is Asian American. And it's like, guys, that's way over representative of the population of Asian Americans in America.
Well, I mean,
like, I'm okay with that. Like, they look, the stereotypes about Asians in math are there for a reason. They're very good at it.
Yeah, generally speaking, they are. I mean, hasn't the military taught you anything, Zach? To never go to these kinds of things if you can help it.
I should have known
that
better.
should have been lesson number one. I remember when I was in Iraq, and the Secretary of Defense came to give a speech, and it was optional. And I had two choices. One, I could go see the Secretary of Defense give a speech about closing the bases in Iraq, this big historical moment, blah, 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 or I could sleep. Guess which one I chose? I slept. Because anyway,
we're so off the rails.
You should have absolutely learned a lesson not to go to these. But we're kind of veered off topic here. If you want me to go off the rails about SJW stuff, I will. But I want to talk about is gun control stuff. So anyway, back to that. It was, for me, it was incredibly disrespectful. And yes, I know the right did this too a couple of weeks ago about that terrorist attack in New York. But here's the thing about it. I remember immediately after that, people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these big name Democrats were jumping on Trump about politicizing the events. Like, how dare he? The bodies aren't even cold yet, and he's politicizing this. And
they both do it.
Exactly. These people are all hypocrites. I don't want to hear a single Republican or a single Democrat talk down to somebody for politicizing an event ever again, because all these people do it. They immediately jump to the political. Once it comes out, once the narrative turns in their favor a little bit, like when it came out that guy in New York was a Muslim, the right was like, oh, look, we were right. Travel bans, all this stuff, even though they didn't have a travel ban for Uzbekistan in the first place. And when the shooting started in Texas, the left was like, oh, look, guns are the problems, completely ignoring the fact that the shooter was actually stopped by a guy with a gun.
Specifically,
ignore that.
The thing that they will never talk about, and I'm not a huge fan of the NRA, but this was an NRA instructor.
Yeah.
So it's like you can just imagine the NRAs after all this comes out sitting back going, ha ha ha, we got them this time.
Yeah, and these people are like, oh, the NRA has blood on their hands. No, the NRA saved that. Well, the NRA didn't, but the guy that worked for the NRA, he saved lives.
Mm-hmm.
He stopped a massacre. Who knows where this guy was going and what he intended to do when he got there? Is he fled this church and this guy shot him? But if he hadn't been there to do that,
so
who knows where he would have gone? He could have gone somewhere and killed dozens more people.
The daughter of the guy that ended the shooting was talking about, maybe, so I might not be getting this completely right, but here's basically the story. When the guy went out and started shooting at the shooter, he was walking around finding bodies to see if they were still alive and executing them if they were. And there was a woman who said that he was standing over her about to kill her when he started taking fire from the good guy with the gun. And I had his name pulled up and I forget what it was.
Yeah, let's pull that up, because that man is an American hero and he needs all the praise he can get. But it just shows you what happens when there is somebody there to fire back. Because these mass shooters, they're almost unanimously cowards. They don't walk into police stations. They don't go after military bases. They go into schools. They go into churches. They fire into crowds. They go specifically where they know there will be no resistance. There wasn't going to be anyone firing back in this church. This guy knew that. When people go to schools to shoot them up, they know that there's got nobody there to stop them. And they're cowards. You don't even need to hit one of these guys for them to flee the scene, because they'll run away the minute that there's resistance to them. They want a soft, easy target, and when they don't get that, they flee because they're cowards.
Stephen Williford is the name of the hero. Also, there was another guy, Johnny Langendorf. So here's the story. Williford shoots the sicko. Sicko runs off, gets in a gun. He's hit a couple times. So he takes off, and Langendorf is driving up, and Williford gets into his vehicle, and they chase him down and make sure that he's dead.
Good.
So both of them, heroes.
American heroes.
They ran towards danger instead of away from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, they need a statue built of them or whatever. It's just amazing the bravery shown by these people. To see a whole church of people get gunned down by this man, and to pick up a rifle and fire back and then chase him down and make sure this guy is gone for good. I mean, just an incredible act of bravery, and it's incredibly disrespectful to use that for political gain. Wait till we've had some time. Wait till the emotions have died down, and let's have actual policy discussions. And you know what? If you're going to bring up policy discussions, let's bring up something new. This is the thing that really got me about this, is all the arguments that these people on this Nebraskans Against Gun Violence page were proposing would not have stopped the violence.
Mm-mm.
And we're just retreads of arguments we've heard before. What's the big one we always hear? Oh, we need more background checks. Well, it turns out this guy already wasn't allowed to own a firearm because he been discharged with less than honorable.
He should have not been allowed to own a firearm, but they didn't file the charges that were against him in the national database.
Exactly.
So, good job, Air Force. That's your boys. Good job, Air Force.
My boys are security forces. If they were in charge of that, this guy would have still been rotting in jail. This is some. This
guy served 1 year in Miramar, I believe, for fracturing his child's skull by beating him. 1 year.
I mean, this
is not a gun problem. This guy has words that I'm not allowed to say here, but
this guy's a real piece of work. I mean, there's reports of him threatening his CEO with violence. I mean, the domestic violence stuff is bad enough, but he escaped from a mental institute. He tried smuggling guns onto an Air Force base. I mean, this guy was a real piece of work. And if the guys in the legal team at the Air Force, somebody didn't do their job, because this guy wasn't supposed to get a gun.
Yeah.
He was already legally barred from getting one, but because somebody in the government shuffled the paperwork the wrong way and lost it or whatever happened, this guy was still able to get it.
So here's the ultimate argument for libertarianism. This is how effective the government is at everything. Name something the government's good at. Like, I'm fighting with the DMV right now. And instead of being able to go into the DMV here in Fremont and just give them the money for my license because there was a mix-up about them pulling money out of my account, I had to mail a certified check to Lincoln and hope that I don't get pulled over between now and the time that they take the cancellation off my license.
They say I can come up with dozens examples of government incompetence. Like recently, the TSA was tested on their effectiveness, and they failed 80% of the time.
It's a dog and pony show.
It's an improvement, though, because they failed last time 90% of the time. So 80 is, I guess, is better. But this is how government works. It's incompetent. It's huge. It's bureaucratic. It's strangers dealing with other strangers' problems, and they don't care about it.
No.
The DMV doesn't care about you. The TSA doesn't care about failing 80% of their tests, because no one's going to get fired there. They're not going to be held accountable for any of that. But no, this is the way government works. It's the way it operates. And no matter what you're talking about, whether it be healthcare, welfare, or keeping guns out of criminals' hands, they're going to be incompetent about it. And the harder you make it for law-abiding citizens to own and bear arms, the easier you're going to make it for criminals to murder them in the streets.
It ain't, look, I hate to be that guy, but it is not that hard to get a gun illegally. Like, it just isn't.
No, and no amount of laws is going to change that fact. So, I mean, if we want to talk about background checks, it wouldn't have stopped the massacre in Las Vegas. It didn't stop this massacre in Texas, even though the law should have prevented this man from getting it. And this is why I think libertarians need to be very careful about backing down on any Second Amendment issues. Just imagine for a second that the Democrats had all the background checks they wanted, all those kind of laws that they wanted. Imagine that those were all in place 3 months ago before these two mass shootings happened. And then say that those laws didn't stop these shootings, because they wouldn't have. You know, the guy in Vegas wouldn't have popped up on anybody's radar. He wasn't he would have he passed background checks. He wouldn't have been stopped by any background checks. And this guy in Texas, his paperwork apparently got lost in the shuffle, and he was able to get a gun anyway. So imagine they had all the laws they wanted in place, and these massacres still happened. What do you think the Democrats and the liberals' response would be? Would it be
more laws?
Would it be do you think that they would say, "Our bad, I guess those laws really didn't work. I guess we were wrong"? Or do you think they just go to the next step, which is banning semi-automatic weapons entirely? What you do by capitulating on any Second Amendment issue is simply move the discussion further to the left. And you have to defend, positions that we're not defending right now. No one's talking about banning semi-automatic weapons right now. They're talking about less extreme things. But once you give into that, that's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is to disarm the population as a whole. So that's the lesson we really need to take. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I oppose any and all attempts by the federal and state government to further restrict the rights of citizens to own and bear arms. And I think that's a position that all libertarians should take on this issue, because it's vitally important. It's vitally important that we remain armed and ready.
I don't think there's any libertarians that are on the other side of this. This is we need to start. This is us. We need to reach out. So the reason that at least I'm anti-NRA, they don't stand very well on this issue. Like, they're coming out like, well, we need to ban bump stocks. First off, the fact that I can't even get started. The NRA does not support gun ownership. There's better organizations out there. There just is.
I think Mike, Ben, and Dustin on their last podcast did a really good job explaining the whole bump stock issue far better than we could.
Yeah, that Dustin guy knows a lot more about guns than I do. Because, you remember when we were listening to the Vegas shooter the first time, I legitimately thought it was a saw. Look, I'm not great with guns. Just gonna call that one. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I miscalled what I thought that weapon was.
I mean, and right after this post was made, we saw it, and then
we swarmed.
we did what libertarians do best and unleashed an army of pro Second Amendment activists onto their page.
And it wasn't just that. We went, because this was an attack on Senator Ebke.
Absolutely.
And we went hard.
I mean, the thing is, these people, they're just your typical anti-gun liberals. They're not we just need common sense gun reforms. No, these are full-blown, we want to take your guns, we want to disarm you, we want to abolish the Second Amendment. That's what these guys are. And it's not hard to make that position look foolish. That's not a difficult thing to do. And over again, that's exactly what we set about doing. And they weren't having any of that, apparently. Apparently, having an open discussion with people that disagree with the very people that you're going to have to convince to pass your legislative ideas, that's not allowed. because immediately after we started going there, they banned every single person that disagreed with them even in the slightest bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about like rude, mean, and threatening comments. We're talking about just disagreeing. And there were something like 150 comments before, and it went down to like 30, something like that. So in response to this, the LPNE had wrote a statement that I'll read to you right now. And I quote, "In the aftermath of the shooting in Texas, Nebraska-based advocacy group Nebraskans Against Gun Violence took the opportunity to immediately politicize the tragedy and attack our own Senator Ebke for her unwavering support for the Second Amendment. We condemn such actions. The bodies of dead Americans should not be used as fodder to further political goals. We mourn the deaths of the innocent victims of this terrible crime and call for all Americans to come together in this moment of suffering. In addition, when confronted with their post by dozens of Nebraskans who believe in defending their Second Amendment rights, the NAGV immediately bans any and all dissenting viewpoints. Though it is their right to censor discussion on their own page, it is also indicative of the contempt they have for everyday Nebraskans that they would refuse to hear their voices. We at the LPNE encourage debate and conversation with those who disagree with us. We want to engage the public and defend the message of liberty, the marketplace of ideas. We encourage our political opposition to do the same." And that's what we did. And immediately we started seeing people from this group come over to our page and start trying to start a troll war there too.
There was a couple. There was one that just tried really hard and just kept getting owned.
Yeah, and guess what? Not a single one of them got banned. They're all still there.
No, we like our trolls. They help us make our points for us.
Exactly.
Look, here's the thing. If you're gonna come on our webpage and talk crap, we're gonna let you. You better bring it. We have active admins, and we will go hard.
Absolutely, and for anybody from the Nebraskans Against Gun Violence page, there is an open invitation for you to come on to the Roads to Liberty podcast and debate our very own Dustin Hobbs, who's been on the podcast I think 3 times now. And he knows more about guns than anybody, so they better bring their A game. But you know what? They won't accept that invitation. They know about it. I know that for a fact. They will not accept it because if they can't control the terms of a discussion, they lose, and they know it. They cannot win this debate. I mean, this is one of the few things, Zach, that really heartens me about our country, because we see this country go in the wrong direction on so many issues. You know, it's but when it comes to gun control, that never gets off the ground.
Mm-hmm. And actually, public opinion has swung back in our favor really hard lately.
Yeah, it seems like Democrats and liberals think that dancing on the graves of dead Americans and planting their political flags there, they think that's a winning argument. They think that every time there's a shooting and they go after it and politicize it immediately, that they win. But they don't. Every time they do that, all they do is create a scare where now hundreds of people run to their nearest gun store and buy a bunch of AR-15s. That's the only thing they ever accomplish, and they don't seem to get that. And you know what? And even if they did pass whatever laws they want, there's like 230 million guns in this country, legally owned by citizens right at this moment. They're not taking those. Any attempt to take those will just cause a second Concord. They're not gonna be able to pull that off. And you know what? Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And you know, I saw this video by the group. What's it? I think we are the internet. I think that's what the group is called. But it was about the gun control debate, and the guy gave a good quote. Is like, hey, if all you guys that have been calling Trump Hitler for the last few months, maybe you want to knock that off. because you can't call for gun control while Hitler is in the White House. And if you do, it kind of makes you look suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if they're serious when they call Trump Hitler or a tyrant or whatever the case may be, but it seems to me that if they really believe that, like if they really truly believe that, they should be the first ones running to a gun store right now to pick up an AR-15.
Dear God, so here's the thing. We need to encourage this. Gun ownership is important. Knowing how to use your damn gun is more important. You have the right to have one. You have the responsibility to know how the freak to use it.
Mm-hmm. And to store it properly. And this is one of the big things that anti-Second Amendment people talk about, is all the accidents people have with their weapons. If you're gonna buy a gun, have the good sense to store it properly and to use it properly and to know how it operates. Put that thing in a safe and keep the key on you at all times. I mean, basic gun safety stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't make the jobs of the anti-Second Amendment crowd easier by being stupid with your guns.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give them a leg to stand on. And you know the funny thing about this whole thing is, I mean, the lady that runs this page is one Amanda Gailey. And you may all remember her from a few months ago when we had the Turning Point USA guys on the show. She's one of the professors that was yelling down that poor student at UNL. And then here she is popping up all over again with these idiotic gun-grabbing posts. Well, what a small world we live in.
I feel like we have an opponent.
Like she is now the nemesis to libertarianism in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing how she's such an irrational, shrieking shrew. I think this is a battle we can win.
Definitely.
I don't think she. I mean, she's a professor over there, but yeah, she's just another one of those angry SJWs that just shrieks incoherently whenever she's angry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have anything else to add to the Second Amendment debate that we have going on here?
No, I think we've hit this a bunch of times. We'll have to hit it again. Look, there's going to be another mass shooting. I think Larry Sharp, he had a live stream, and then he talked about this on the Think Liberty podcast, which, quick note, I'll be on the Think Liberty podcast this Sunday talking about the unconvention, and, I mean, yeah, we got Ron Paul coming to the unconvention.
Awesome. That is best news. That's just great.
Yeah. But so, Larry Sharp talks about this. These gunmen, this is a suicide attempt. But all of these attacks, if you look at the common denominators, these are people that are not happy and they want to die, and they want to go out and be famous as they go out. So he articulates better than anyone else I've ever heard why this is a mental health problem, not a gun problem. Because if the attacker in New York taught us anything, it is not the weapon. You can find a lot of ways to kill a lot of people if you're trying to be famous.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we make these individuals famous with the way we cover them. We read their manifestos on national TV. We put their names all over the place.
That's why we will not ever give the name of a shooter. Philip DeFranco does that, and I think that's the best approach. We will not show their face. We will not give their name. They're garbage. That's how they're referred to here.
Yeah, garbage human beings, and I completely agree with that policy. So moving on, we got another thing that we want to talk about that happened recently. This one happened on Saturday, the day before the shooting in Texas, to a senator that's close to our hearts, a man that we respect, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. So here's what happened. Senator Rand Paul was mowing his grass at his home, which, first of all, isn't it great that Senator Paul mows his own grass? I just find that funny. I never would have thought that a sitting senator would be out mowing his own lawn, but apparently that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets attacked by one of his neighbors who comes up from behind him while he's on his lawnmower, while he has his headphones in, and just body slams the senator into the ground. He breaks 6 ribs and punctures a lung.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just some brutal stuff. And in the wake of what happened a few months ago in Washington, when we had that congressional baseball shooting, Rand Paul was at that too. I mean, he almost got shot at that event. And now here he is being attacked in his own home while mowing his own lawn by his own neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't catch a break.
So let me jump in here. This is actually Friday. This past Friday, Republican Senator Rand Paul was getting off of his riding mower with his noise-muffling earphones on when he was tackled by his neighbor. Skipping down a bit, the neighbor is a Democrat. Rand Paul is not. But the attorney was quick to try to dispel the idea, saying politics had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. But, well, maybe not so much. According to interviews conducted by the New York Times, a former newspaper, it seems... I'm stealing that from Andrew Clavin. I don't care. It's true. It seems as though the root of the dispute between the two men was landscaping. Yep.
Because that makes sense. It's all about landscaping. When I'm mad at my neighbor for, I don't know, his leaves getting in my yard, I immediately tackle him and break 6 ribs.
Mm-hmm.
Because that makes perfect sense. And you know what? This is the thing. Of course his lawyer is going to say that. You think his lawyer is going to come out and say, oh, yeah, it was political. He attacked Rand Paul because of his politics. No, it's not what he's going to say. Of course he's going to say it has nothing to do with politics. But I can't imagine what's going through that this guy would attack the senator because of an unkept yard, even if that's true. Because apparently he's the only one saying that. All his other neighbors are saying that Senator Paul is a perfect neighbor, and he keeps his yard perfectly clean.
Yeah.
So this isn't a problem.
This article that we're using is GQ, and this is a hit piece. So it continues on. Let's read between the lines a bit here. Rand Paul is a butthole neighbor. He bought a house in a neighborhood that has certain rules with regard to lawns, and decided he doesn't need to follow those rules because of his belief in property rights that don't actually exist. This is, at its core, the problem with libertarianism. Libertarians don't want to follow the rules that we as a society have agreed on because they feel those rules step on their freedoms.
Yeah, imagine that. And I think he even admits it. Keep reading down. I think he even admits that point.
So now I don't want to excuse the other side of this. One of the problems with Democrats is that I like that this guy at least admits he's a Democrat. Mm-hmm. We've never met a government oversight that we didn't like. And there's a good metaphor for Democratic politics in the obnoxious homeowners association rules that drive everyone crazy. I guess my point is all this. Their dispute might not have been about politics, but it was definitely all about politics, which is true. This is that part is correct.
This is absolutely about politics. I do not believe for a second the idea that this guy didn't attack Rand Paul because of his politics. I mean, this is go ahead.
You can't see this, but I pulled up this guy's bibliography on this site.
The GQ writer?
Yeah. So
Moore?
He doesn't have a actual photo. He has like a cartoon photo. But look, I'm just saying, judging by the cartoon photo, he's definitely on the low end of the testosterone spectrum.
Yeah,
He doesn't. He has a hipster beard, not this glorious, manly lumberjack beard. Look at this. Santa Claus is jealous. I'm about like 10% more gray hair away from cosplaying Santa Claus permanently.
Yeah, and I'm looking through his articles. Every single one of them seems to be an attack against Republicans, except for here's one again about Don Brazil at the bottom. That seems to be the only one that's not a hit piece on Trump or something. Oh no, here's one about that transgender woman that won an election in Virginia. But I'm sure if I open that up, it'll be an attack piece against Trump and Republicans again. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, aren't liberals supposed to be the ones that are against victim blaming? Isn't that supposed to be
only if the victims are minorities?
Not a
like you're good, you're good. I'm screwed.
If it's a straight white man, then go ahead, blame the victim. Because that's exactly what this article is. It's all about, oh look, Rand Paul didn't keep his yard clean, therefore.
Yeah, it's like the guy grew pumpkins.
How dare he?
Shame on him. Shame.
The monster.
Shame.
Yeah, so, I mean, see, this is why I have my handy dandy helmet with me, because I'm scared that Democrats are gonna keep wrapping this up. You know what? If these Democrats and liberals want to convince conservatives to give up their guns, you best stop attacking them.
To be fair, dude, the Democrats have lost 2,000 voters in 5 months in Nebraska, so I don't think you have too much to worry about.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like they have to convince conservatives to come over to their side to pass their common sense, quote unquote, gun laws. And the more they keep shooting them up and attacking them, the less likely conservatives are to, let themselves be disarmed. Because I see this attack in Texas, and it's a radical leftist, militant atheist shooting up a church full of what's most likely to be conservatives. I mean, because it's a small Texas town.
I don't want to make that characteristic. The reports are that he was there because of a dispute with his mother-in-law.
Well, whatever the case may be, though, that just makes the case stronger for conservatives that they need to be armed.
Yep.
I mean, and the shooting in Las Vegas, he had an opportunity to shoot up a hip hop concert, didn't take it. But a country music concert came to town. He took that opportunity and shot up a whole concert full of people.
Yeah.
And most of those people were had conservative leanings too, because most people who listen to country music are conservatives. It's just the way it is. So if you want to convince conservatives to give up their guns, stop shooting at them.
Yeah.
And stop attacking them while they're mowing the lawn. Can't believe I had to say that.
So let's wrap here. We got a lot to go over here, kind of as our wrap up. So Unconvention, Memorial Day weekend. That is the 25th through the 27th. It is in La Vista. Tickets are on sale at I just had it pulled up. OmahaUnconvention.com. Our tickets are live. Ron Paul's beautiful face is on the website. We have Abney Park, which is a steampunk band. We have The Two of Us, which is like a Beatles cover band.
Ooh.
If you're, different strokes. We have Joshua Smith coming. We're pretty confident that we're gonna have a debate with all the people running for chair and vice chair. So this is going to be a big deal. You won't want to miss this.
Man, I'm excited for it.
And this is not a libertarian event. It is a liberty event. This is about the motto of the Roads to Freedom Foundation, which is The organization that's putting this on, which I am a part of, full disclosure, is Freedom, nothing more, nothing less. We don't endorse a party. I think we might endorse candidates at some point. I'm not sure, but we're not about parties. We're about freedom. We're about the entrepreneurial spirit that will save us from this huge government that we're dealing with all over the world. Entrepreneurship is what will save the world.
I am very excited for this event. It's right down the street from me, so I'm probably going to be there every day of the event.
Yep.
It looks awesome. You guys have done a great job organizing it.
Thank you. We have booths for sale. There's, I think they're saying 34 workshops that we're going to have. Trying to think of what else. We're going after some other big name speakers. We may have talked about. I'll leave that on the back burner. Let's just say we've made overtures to another Paul. We're trying to get him. I'm actually, so here's my thing. Legitimately, I am going after Glenn Jacobs. I want that guy to come up here. If you don't know who that is, it's Kane from the WWE. He's running for mayor of Knox County, which is where some of my family lives. And I think it would be awesome to have him come up and speak, preferably as Kane, if possible. But no, he's got some really cool ideas, and he's kind of that conservatarian that bridges the gaps. So that's something, that's someone I want to get. But we have a lot of workshops already kind of in the works, like talking about, some of them are talking about the principles of the Libertarian Party. We are going to have a heavy Libertarian Party influence there. A lot of them are co-sponsoring. But like the Republican Liberty Caucus is invited. There's, Ron Paul's not a Libertarian. He's a Republican.
No, he's actually a lifetime dues-paying member of the Libertarian Party.
Right, but he
was registered. You can be a registered Republican and a dues-paying Libertarian at the same time.
Right, you can.
Is anything else about the Unconvention that you want to plug in before we wrap this up?
No, I think dominoes are going to start falling pretty quickly now that we've got the speaker we were most focused on. We're going to have a ball. It's like a speakeasy theme. If you have kids, bring them. Children's tickets are pretty cheap, and we have kids' activities the whole convention.
Awesome. Where can people find more information about this?
It's omahaunconvention.com. It is the Unconvention. I'm changing the Facebook name tonight. It will be on Facebook. Actually, let me pull it up here. It is facebook.com/RTFF Unconvention. And it will be the Roads to Freedom Unconvention. That's what all of our, I haven't changed the Facebook name, but that's how we're going to run with it.
Awesome. And are you guys going to need, are you guys looking for donations? You guys looking for volunteers? What are you looking for?
Like, we're not really looking for donations. This is going to pay for itself.
Okay.
This is a big convention. It costs money to get in. There's a ton of really useful things like workshops, speakers, all of that. If you come, you will have a harder time seeing everything that you want to see rather than being bored, because there's so much good stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
We'll have more to announce. Some other upcoming things. I think I said this before, but I'm going to plug it again. The December 6th meeting of the Dodge County Libertarian Party. I will be there discussing social media strategy.
Douglas County.
What did I say?
Dodge County.
That doesn't even exist anymore. I've given up. There's I'm not that person. I can't lead a county, especially when no one shows up.
You
But
don't got the skills, yo.
I'm not a good recruiter. It is what it is. It's not a skill I have. But so I'm going to be in the Douglas County party meeting. Check out the Douglas County Party of Nebraska on Facebook. The meeting is on the 6th at the library on, you know where this is at.
It's the Miltons R. Abraham's Library off 90th Street in Omaha, right off the 4th Street exit.
Yep. So I'll be there talking social media strategies and how to maximize your social media reach. Just something that I feel like I'm getting pretty good at lately. Like we had a lot of stuff go viral.
Yeah, a lot of really good stuff. One more thing I want to plug before we go. We are having, we do have lit drops for Senator Ebke coming up for next week. If you want information on that, you need to go to lauraebke.com and sign up as a volunteer, or go to lpne.org and sign up there. You'll get all the information you need. We have carpooling from Omaha and Lincoln. So if you want to go, if you want to help Senator Ebke, and this, keep saying this every single week, this is a vitally important campaign, but if you want to get involved, please let us know, and we will let you know how to do that.
Also, look for me on Facebook.com, whatever, Think Liberty. Just look for Think Liberty. It's a pretty big page. I'll be on their podcast. They have their podcast on SoundCloud, just like we do. They're gonna have me on to talk about the unconvention. We're gonna plug this podcast a little bit. So that's gonna be a good time. We're going to be having I'm gonna butcher his name because I haven't actually heard it said before. Connor Drigatas. He's from the Better, where is it? The Better Money Pack. He's going to be coming on our podcast here sometime soon to talk about cryptocurrency, which is something we have not talked about because neither of us really understand it that well.
No, but you know what? I'm down for learning.
Absolutely. It is what I do understand of it. It is decentralizing money and breaking the Fed, and I am all for those things.
Absolutely. End the Fed, bro. End the Fed.
All right. So I think that's everything. We're getting busy. We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we do, and it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. This has been another episode of the Guardians of Liberty podcast. Thank you for stopping by.
Have a great week, everyone.